My understanding is that the minister is responsible to issue a national policing policy. In other words, that is the direction in terms of what are the priorities that we need to do as the police. For example, there could be priorities about, let's say, gangsterism or cash in transit, that is troubling the country. That is a strategic direction that we need to deal with that. But the how part of it, how many resources are going to use, of course, I will inform the minister as to what resources are going to use. But the how part of it, it is, according to me, is an operational matter where I will decide how many resources in terms of personnel, vehicles, and how are we going to do this job. I don't expect the minister to say, get involved into the how part of it in terms of executing the functions. But I expect that he can identify the priority. Yes, he can talk to in terms of what he thinks. There's no problem even if he can say how he thinks the how part, but not that he get involved in to say, do it in the following manner. So in this case, my issue is, for example, in this case of the political killings task team, it is a task team that is working at a lower level under a provincial commissioner. If ever he found anything wrong with the task team, he could say, that task team, I think you need to disband it, and we can engage in the terms of the why and how and so on. But to go further to say disband, but then after saying disband, then you go further to say now, not even tomorrow. I think that is totally encroachment into the mandate of the National Commissioner in terms of performance of my duty. I don't know whether I answered.
From that response, I think I do get the how, which is an operational issue that falls under the purview of your functions. I do get that. But you seem to be lumping policy and directions together. So I'm still in the dark as to what the difference is between policy and directions. Can you now forget about the operational matters and just give us an idea of what the difference is between policy and directions as envisaged in Section 2072 of the Constitution?
Thanks, Commissioner. The policy will be like, we do have the Police Act. The minister is getting involved in development of that legislation, and there is a policy recently, national policing policy. There wasn't one. There is one that recently was issued that directs us in terms of what we need to prioritize. So it talks more on what is it that we must prioritize, because the Constitution in Section 2053 tells us what must we do, but there will further be priorities that are out there in terms of various provinces. Then the minister, yes, can issue policy to say, I need us to go in this way, issue legislation or issue extra policing policy like he did.
That's the policy as I understand you. And directions?
Directions, according to me, it is any directives you can issue to say in terms of what matters must we prioritize in terms of, like I gave an earlier example to say you prioritize cash in transit, for example. You can say, yeah, there is problem of cash in transit, or there is problem for, like in his case, he said, we have problem of illegal mining in the country. Let's do something about it. That is a direction. And we go and to deal with our part.
When dealing with policy, you touched on something that was issued recently. I actually had a question here that asks whether the policy is contained in one document or in several documents. When you say there wasn't any before and that one has been issued recently, so that probably means there's only one document, or am I wrong?
Yeah, if one takes, my understanding policy will be what the minister will express, mostly together with the rest of South Africans, through legislation. And the national policy, yes, there was never one. There is one now issued.
Okay, oh, thank you. If the minister were to stray from policy or the directions envisaged in Section 2072 of the Constitution, stray onto operational or managerial matters, would a national commissioner be legally entitled to disobey the minister?
Just come again, Commissioner.
Would a national commissioner of police be entitled to disobey an instruction by the minister if that instruction strayed onto operational matters? Would the national commissioner be legally entitled to say to the minister, Minister, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to act in accordance with your instruction?
Yeah, I take it that, yes, the national commissioner can say that.
Now let me be direct and ask you about yourself. If you were to find yourself in such a situation, would you disobey the minister? If the minister were to give you an instruction that strays onto operational or managerial matters, would you, General MASEMOLA, say to the minister, I am not going to obey that?
Yeah, it depends, Commissioner, but yes, I will. It's a matter that is career limiting, but
it depends on what?
It depends on how he does it.
It's simple. It's
Yes.
simple. You have said operational and managerial matters are within your remit and not the minister's.
Yes.
So I am saying categorically to you that in what I posit to you, the instruction would be falling outside of the minister's remit and be straying onto operational and managerial matters. It's that clear.
Yeah, no.
Would you, General MASEMOLA, tell the minister, I am not going to obey that?
Yeah, no, I will tell him that I won't do it. But as I said, it depends.
So
he must explain why he's doing certain things.
So if he explains himself, would you then obey, even if the instruction still strayed beyond the minister's powers and strayed onto your powers and functions?
Yeah,
I want to understand that depends. So if the minister explained him or herself satisfactorily to you, would you then say, Minister, even though you are encroaching onto my area of function, I will obey you. You are acting unlawfully. You are not acting in accordance with Section 2072 of the Constitution, but because you have explained satisfactorily to me, I'm going to obey you. Would you say that?
Well, if he explains and I find the reasons acceptable, then I will. But if I find them not acceptable, then I will not comply with that instruction.
Explain yourself. Explain yourself. Why would you obey an instruction on something that the minister has no legal, no constitutional basis to do? Why would you obey that? Just explain that. I want to understand you.
Yeah, thanks, Commissioner. What I'm referring to, Well, my understanding and his understanding probably will differ. But if he says, this is what I'm giving this instruction, you must do it. And there is an explanation why should one do the instruction. We will engage on such a matter, as to where is his powers, does it end up?
General, I am sorry to belabor this, but I just want to understand your thinking. It is not policy. It is not directions as envisaged in 2072 of the Constitution. So if it is none of those, why would you ever obey the instruction? Where would the legal entitlement for the minister to give the instruction come from?
No,
and on what legal basis would you obey it?
Yes, Commissioner. No, if it's very clear that it's clear cut is not his, then I will not obey it. I will not do it.
I said so right at the beginning.
Yes,
I said,
I will not do it.
If the instruction strays onto your area of function, would you obey it?
Oh,
and
no.
you said it depends. That's what I'm trying to understand.
Oh, no. I'll not do it. That one, straightforward, no.
Thank you, Mr. Mutau.
No, thank you, Chair. I could pick up that there was perhaps something that was lost in the discussion, or perhaps the questions that the Chair poses.
Thank you. Yeah,
Thank you.
Maybe the General forgot what, because I introduced my question quite carefully,
No.
referring to the straying and so on. But thank you very much.
Thank you.